let the music ride for a little bit. You know, because I got a little bit to say. I ain't even mad. After last year, this team can't hurt me. I ain't mad. The game happened. An unfocused football team is what you saw for 4 quarters. But we gonna talk about it. Y'all enjoy the music. You know, they say football's a game of inches. Boy, isn't it. I'll let y'all be mad for me tonight, because I ain't mad. What's up, Brandon Little? Who do we blame? Who do y'all want to blame? Who are we blaming tonight? I know who I'm blaming. Might surprise you. Y'all will probably disagree with me too. Hit the like button. FSU loses. Virginia in what, double overtime it was? All right, enough music. Enough music. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy POLK, a.k.a. A-Lo, a.k.a. the goddamn truth. And boy, do I have some truth tonight. Truth that probably y'all ain't gonna agree with, but it's okay. It's okay. Anyways, Florida State loses to Virginia. In its second real game of the season. 4th game, 3-1 on the year. We probably fall out of the top 25. Y'all know how that goes. Probably fall out of the top 25. I'm looking at y'all's comments and I'm seeing y'all blaming a lot of people. But ain't nobody blamed the people that matter. Nobody's blaming the people that matter. Say it on Tommy. I would love to come out here and say, Tommy sucks. No, it ain't on the quarterback. Quarterback didn't lose you that game. I see people saying Tony White. It ain't on Tony White. Y'all can blame Tony White all you want. It ain't on Tony. Gus Malzahn, I'm seeing in the comment. It ain't on Gus. It ain't on Gus. Keep them coming. Keep blaming coaching. Saying coaching is the problem. Is it? For this particular game? We'll see. Mike Norvell's the problem. Well, Mike Norvell's been a problem. But anyway. Mike Norvell is not to blame. That might shock some people. Mike Norvell is not to blame. Tony White is not to blame. The coaching is not to blame for tonight. Because even when you want to say, oh, we got cute We did this. We called this. Guess who's to blame? No, it ain't the kicker. The players are to blame for tonight. The players came out there unfocused. Now you can say, well, the coaches should have had them focused. At a certain point, it comes down to this. There's no excuse for Deuce to bobble that ball to tie the game in the double overtime. What's the excuse? That's a lack of focus. What's the excuse for getting what 3, 4? What do we have? 3 or 4 turnovers in this game? Who are we blaming the coaching because guys can't beat one-on-one blocks on the defensive line because guys can't tackle? We're blaming the coaches? No, my friends. You can blame the coaching all you want. It's the same old story. You want to blame the coaches. This loss goes on the players. Not every player, because every player didn't play bad. Deuce was great until he wasn't great. Even if you think he caught it, no reason it should have got reviewed. The ball hit him at the beginning of the end zone. Just catch the ball. All that extra fumbling and bumbling was unnecessary. Even if you think he caught it, which as soon as I saw the ball moving when he was going out of bounds, I said they're going to call that incomplete. If you've watched enough football for the past 10 years, you know how inconsistent they are with these completed catches and all that stuff. Where's James Williams? Does he play football? Does James Williams play football? I'm not sure he does. At some point, yes, I've been on the record with the coaching staff, and it's crazy how the tune flips just a week ago when everybody's like, "Oh, we got the greatest coaching staff of all time." So no, I'm not going with the coaching. Because even when Gus got cute, FSU was still in a position and the players didn't execute. The players didn't execute. Even after Earl Little gets chewed out by Mike Norvell for not wrapping up on that late first half touchdown by Virginia, he continued to play and not wrap up. I think he can just hit everybody. No, my friend, it doesn't work like that. So at what point do the players in this particular game look at themselves in the mirror and say, am I going to make a play? They made plays until they mattered. If the players execute on some of these critical, even on the play that Gus got cute, I think it was where we had to kick the field goal in overtime. I think that's the play where we end up having to kick the field goal stuff to go for the touchdown because Gus got a little cute. The play was wide open. Again, I'm not blaming TC for the overall loss, but you got to get that ball up there. You got to give your guy a chance to catch the ball. You didn't give him a chance. So we can go back and forth. We can go back and forth, and we can say the coaches suck now and fire this guy and fire that guy. Man, the players got to look at themselves in the mirror. They drunk the Kool-Aid off of beating 2 high school football teams. That's what they did. That's what they did. It's what they did. It's really what it boils down to. I think I got a couple super chats. Let me get to those. I see 3 super chats. Let me make sure I'm not missing any more. Okay, I see 3. Let me get to the first one from Antonio with two bones. This was an eye-opening performance. Was it really? Shout out to Antonio. What opened your eyes, Antonio? Whoops.
Yeah, more money, yeah, more money, yeah.
Next super chat is, I gotta find it. I had 3. There it is. $10 from Made for the Ville, resident Louisville lover from the Midnight Family. Drinks on us. I hope you got a big tab, my man, because I think a lot of drinking's gonna go on in here tonight. So I hope your tab is ready. Shout out for Made for the Ville.
Clickety clank, the money goes into my piggy bank.
$9.99 says hit that like button. KCS85 hit the like button. Lucas and Amari better have been injured. Tommy looked like his ankle was bothering him. Get James Williams off the field. Shaheem still has bad angles. Shout out to KCS.
Clickety clank, the money goes into my piggy bank.
Is my mic bad? Somebody said my mic. Is the sound bad? Hooked up. Oh well. Everything's bad this night. It was actually a fun game. That was actually a very cheerful. It was actually a very entertaining game to watch. What got exposed tonight was something that I think we kind of said. Well, I kind of said. Didn't kind of say it. I said it in the offseason. Some of the deficiencies on the talent end of the football field got exposed for you. It got exposed. Excuse me. It got exposed, and lack of a legit pass rusher got exposed. Again, you guys on the line just. But the sad part is Virginia. Again, this is why I just go to the players, because Virginia injured galore across the offensive line, but you wouldn't have been able to tell. Virginia's O-line played like Bama's O-line should have played. That's what that looked like. Ultimately, if you really want to boil it down, yes, the defense gets a lot of the blame because you scored enough points to win the game. And your defense was able to get turnovers, but it wasn't able to get the stops when you needed it to get the stops. But at the end of the day, my man, I'm just looking at the players and the fact that they played with a lack of focus. I don't know if Deuce was just excited to catch that ball there at the end. That you talk about a good throw. I mean, TC put it right in the breadbasket. And instead of using his hands to catch the ball, he lets the ball hit his chest and bumbles and fumbles the ball and leaves it up to the refs to make a decision. Again, I don't care if you think he caught it. Really don't matter to me. That single play was the entire game in a nutshell as far as I'm concerned. When you come out, when you haven't proven anything, and you come out and you play like you're just supposed to show up and win, you see Virginia rush the field. Virginia rushed the field on a team that went 2-10 last year. Think about that for a second. You know why? Because it's still Florida State. I say this all the time. The logo is still the logo. You can't just hop out of bed and I was saying it all week. You can't just hop out of bed. You are not talented enough to just hop out of bed and think you're supposed to win football games. You're not there. But that's what they did today. That's exactly what they did today. You drunk the Kool-Aid, FSU players. And when Virginia punched you in the mouth, you didn't have an answer. You didn't know what to do. Man, I'm looking at the sidelines. They pan to the sidelines, and I'm looking at the defensive line all holding their head down like if somebody just died. And guess who's sitting right there with them? The D-line coach. Y'all's favorite rump roast is sitting there holding his head down, looking just as not even trying to fire up the troops. He was just as defeated as the players was. So you can blame who you want to blame. The players came out to me and just laid an egg. Bumbling passes. Just doing things that they hadn't done the first 3 games. Even, you can tell in the Alabama game, man, they just came out there and they were focused. None of the execution problems even the 4th down call. Even the 4th down call. And I forget, what's that? That's at the end of the game. That ultimately didn't hurt us because it went to overtime. Even on that play, everybody's like, oh, that play call sucked. You thought it was the play call that sucked? The players didn't know the play call. So there was something happened there. Because Thomas Castellanos, first of all, it's a 3 tight end loaded, jumbo package. Not one tight end ran a route. Tommy Castellanos drops back, and he's looking, and nobody ran. He had no one to throw the ball to. Everybody either thought it was what happened? Players, did we not know the play call? How did none of your tight ends run a route? No one. Who is Tommy supposed to throw the ball to? If you run a route, maybe that play is successful. Players weren't focused, man. Players weren't focused. Players weren't focused. And you had a team that wanted to win, obviously. You had a team that wanted it, that even when they were throwing interceptions, they never backed down. They never held their head. They never got down. They were focused and came out there and still went out there and won the game. So we talk about the response. I talked about the response all offseason. I said, how did the players respond to winning or losing to Bama? Tonight was your answer. Because we knew against the 2 high school teams, it wasn't an issue. We knew that. But against a team that actually came to play, that actually had relative talent, you thought you could just show up on the field. I didn't believe that they were looking past this game. It's pretty apparent now that they were looking past this game. They thought they were good enough. Guess what, Florida State? You're not good enough. Not yet. Maybe next year you will be, or the years to come, but you're not good enough right now. How many times Chandler Morris? Again, we want to say we got out coached. We want to say the play calling X, Y, and Z. Where's the eye discipline? How many read options did Chandler Morris keep and score touchdowns on? And that's a play call thing? Or is that guy's not keying on where they're supposed to be? The good news is it's 1 loss. If you thought this was a 9-3, 8-4 team, you're still on track for that, right? So you We can dead the playoff talk, right? That's dead. We can stop that. So we can stop the delusion of the playoffs. But we can still talk about having a successful football season relative to what some of us may have thought. Hopefully we get a decent pass rusher in the offseason, because right now he don't exist. And the one guy that we think could be that, well, they don't play him enough because they want to, for some reason, play him at tight end. You put him at tight end, you don't even target him in the passing game. So I'm not sure what's the purpose of playing Amari Williams two ways. It's right now, it is the most nonsensical thing we have going on one of the most nonsensical things we have going on this team is playing that young man two ways. I understand what he wants. I understand what he was promised. But at this point, you have to make a decision on what you're going to do with him. If you're going to put him at tight end, put the ball in his hands. If you're not going to put the ball in his hands, put his ass on the D-line so we can get some pass rush. Because right now, we don't have it. I got a super chat. I need to know why Mike Norvell hates Keziah Holmes. Well, that's a good question. Why Keziah Holmes didn't get no more touches is a good question. Does that make a difference? I don't necessarily think so, because Usan Chroma was running the ball very well, actually. This was his night. He had a better night than Sawchuk. So that isn't something that lost you the game, in my opinion. Not saying he couldn't have gave him more touches. Just don't think that's the thing that lost you the game. A lot of the things we thought they were setting up when they were playing Kent State and East Texas with the reverses and that stuff with Danzy, like we didn't get any of that. We didn't get any. There's a lot of things that you can question. But man, do guys have to execute? Because in my opinion, you called a good enough game to win, and the players didn't execute when it mattered the most. Thank you for the $9.99, by the way, KCS. I appreciate it. Which one do we want us? Let's go with that.
I'm in Tallahassee. I'm with the Seminoles. I've been getting to this paper, focus on my goals. Trying to run this money up and pull up in the road. All this talking gangster, that shit getting old.
See a lot of comments on stuff that I feel like people are so confused by, but this is stuff that we covered. We covered running back rotation and that Gus was going to use a lot of running backs. Now we're questioning it. I get it, man. After a loss, there's a lot to question, and there's going to be questions to come, especially when you thought, you had a team that can do something. Well, you still got a team that can do something. You got an ACC loss. That's not great. Now you have to beat Miami and Clemson to have a chance, right? You can't drop either one of those. If we're talking about ACC, as far as the ACC goes, right? You have those games really matter now. I'll let the Miami fans have their night. I'm not going to have your night. You got it. I ain't got nothing to say to you. You got it. I don't know what you want me to say. This is a team that came out and was looking forward to the next game. It's pretty apparent to me that's what happened. It's pretty apparent to me that's what happened. Came out and you looked for the next game. I will say this. Looking ahead, I was worried about it before this game, but now I am terrified about our defensive line against that Miami offensive line. Carson Beck's not going to need to throw the football against us because they're just going to be able to run it at will. Almighty asks, who should be really getting most of the carries? Up until tonight, it's been Sawchuck's been the best back on the team. He's been the most consistent. He didn't have his best game tonight, but Chroma picked up. I don't know if there's an answer because I do think you give it to the hot hand, and I don't think anyone has separated themselves to say that is the number one back. Right? So I don't believe there's an answer to that. Ben says, I had us going 8-4. We're still on pace for a lot of y'all's preseason predictions. I know after the Bama game, some of those predictions, our predictions changed or whatever. It's a learning experience for a team that is actually, it's relatively young in certain spots. I'm not going to get too down on it, believe it or not. Players will get better. Even though I said the loss is on the players will get better. Some of those players, I spoke on it. Again, a lot of the stuff I spoke on early in the season just came to fruition in this particular game. I said, if you count so much on these young players, they will fail you. Not because they're not good players, but that's what happens when you have young players, man. Now, there's no excuse for a guy like Deuce Robinson to have that play at the end. But we're talking about D linemen. Well, we're counting on the Desir twins, and we're counting on everybody wants Kevin Wynn back. I don't even know if Kevin Wynn played tonight, right? But you counting on these young players to do certain things for you. I mean, sometimes it's just going to happen that way. So I like to come out here and be a little bit, hold you back off the ledge if you're thinking about jumping off of it. This was a nice wake-up call, believe it or not. I know it sucks to say that in a loss. But even in a win, I think some of this stuff would still be being said if you would have found a way to win that game. FSU is closer to that 8-4, 7-5 prediction than I think it is than, that 10-2, 11-1 thing. And that's okay. There are still there are certain things that I don't think you're going to be able to address. Like, I don't think a pass rusher is going to emerge because who is it? I think that's one of the major questions the one would have to ask himself. Who is it? I don't think that person's on the roster right now, unless you think it's Amari. We already talked about Amari. He continues to play both ways, well, then, again, I think you're just wasting him. And then outside of that, who's the guy waiting in the wings that you're saying, okay, well, that guy isn't on the roster. So certain things you're just not going to be able to address. But the things that you can address is that focus, that chip on your shoulder. Maybe this puts the chip back on the shoulder. You can say all the good things you want in press conferences, but the truth gets told between the white lines. It always does, and it always will. You can say in an interview all you want. We're treating every game like the championship game. Well, tonight you didn't, and that's apparent. Tonight you didn't. Linebackers, I don't think they played well. I think they got kind of exposed. But who's the answer? I don't think he's on the team. So some of the holes that you have that you're going, man, we got to do this, and we got to get better here. We got to get better there. The problem is we start going back to the talent conversation, right? Well, who's a linebacker waiting in the wings that can do something? I don't think that guy's on the roster. unless you believe in the North Carolina transfer. If you do, good for you. I don't. But the penalties, that can be fixed. The passes can be fixed. Playing guys to their strength can also be fixed. But go ahead. Man, Virginia ran the same 6 plays over and over. Why didn't we run underneath scat passes to Squirrel White like UVA was? We didn't. There are probably some things that you can complain about from a play calling perspective. Gus got a little cute. Won't deny that. Gus got cute. Won't deny that. Panama says he's excited about our chances next week. They play double overtime against Virginia team that has solid offense. Look, you can be excited. I'm not telling you not to be. I'm not excited because of the trend. Our offensive line is fairly good. I won't, again, the offense did enough to win the football game, even with its mistakes and its major mistakes in crucial times. But if you're not worried about that defensive front against Miami's O-line, you either are oblivious, in denial. It's something. You just don't want to admit it. Okay? Briley says, that's the problem. I was waiting to see if Briley showed up with something. So that's the problem. White doesn't have the personnel to fix the issue. The only answer is to make every game a shootout by going all-out pressure and risking the quit score. They're relying on the answer is not on the team. Some of the answers are not on the team in terms of personnel. We knew that going into the season. I tried to express, like, from a roster perspective, and I talked about it at the halftime reaction. Why was a walk-on linebacker playing as much as he was in the first half? Well, probably because that they had to. From a personnel perspective, FSU does not have the overall talent. We knew that. That's not news to me. If it's news to you, then you were listening to the wrong podcast. I'm just telling you like that. At the end of the day, you can pick and choose who you listen to. You was listening to the wrong people. Because I was very adamant going into the season from a overall roster perspective. Our depth was an issue. And it's going to be an issue. You don't have the answers to fix some of this stuff. Were we talented enough to beat Virginia? Yeah. I think if you were to go back and watch that game and you saw all the mistakes, I don't want to take anything away from Virginia, but man, I'm just going to be honest with you. I do not think Virginia's that good. If Virginia loses 3 or 4 games in the rest of the season, would not shock me. I don't think Chandler Morris Chandler Morris can run a little bit. That is not a good quarterback. I'm sorry. He's just not. He's not a good quarterback. Virginia defense isn't all of that either. Look at the score. You were more talented than that team, but they executed and you did not. That's what that game boiled down to. So you have a more talented team to beat the likes of Virginia. And it's shown that if you come out there with that chip on your shoulder, with that intensity, with that focus, with that physicality, you can beat more talented teams than you, like in Alabama, who top to bottom has more talent than you. But on that particular day, it didn't look like it, did it? But when you don't come out the way you're supposed to come out, when you think you've already made it after 3 games and 2 games against literal cupcakes, nights like this happen. Nights like this happen. The real disappointment is that the team overplayed its talent level to steal the Bama game and then underplayed. Yeah, what I just said. You weren't more talented than Bama, but you came out there because you wanted it. You wanted to prove people wrong. Against Virginia, you didn't want to prove anybody wrong. You wanted to prove people right who were gassing you up. So you underplayed. Oh, look, we got a Virginia fan in the building. What's up? He said he rushed the field. I'm glad you had a good time. It was a good game. It was an entertaining game. That was a good game. Shout out to Virginia. Again, I'm not taking anything away from them. But I don't believe I know I'm sounding hypocritical when I say I don't want to take anything away. Damn plane. Shut up. Let me wait for the plane. I know I'm going to sound a little bit like a hypocrite when I say what I'm saying, but shout out to Virginia because you wanted it more. But you weren't more talented. But you definitely out-executed the Seminoles tonight. You wanted it more. You wanted it more. And ultimately, again, that's what happens in football. That's what happens in football. You could argue you lost because of both, Almighty. So it's a reality check. These boys now got to look at the mirror. What we do know for a fact, this is what I'm pretty confident on. They will, I think, play with another chip on their shoulder next week because of what that game is, who the opponent is, and what that game means. Because if you can win that game, then the season's right back on track. And guess what? You're still in the play. If you beat Miami, you're still in the playoff hunt. If you beat Miami, you're right back in the ACC championship race. So all of that is I hate to say this because, we say this about Miami every year, but next week might definitely be your Super Bowl. If we're just being honest, that game has a lot of meaning to it. We already know, from recruiting to what you name it. Next week's game is gonna be, and I believe, I said it about this game, but I was wrong. I believe they will come out there focused and ready to play. I still believe in Tony White. I know a lot of people think he should be fired now. I don't. Because I saw what that defense could do against the Alabama team with a guy like Ryan Williams and that other wide receiver who's damn good too. And that other wide receiver had like 150 yards on you. But that's still, whatever. But my point is I saw what that team did against a team with a lot of talent on it when they played with that chip. I believe next week they will play with that chip. Will it be enough to win? Don't know. But I believe they'll play hard. I'm not saying they didn't play hard tonight. I'm saying that they came out there like a bully, and the bully got punched, and the bully didn't know how to respond. Remember I talked about rivalry games and real rivalry games and made-up ones, and how I've always said the Clemson is a made-up rivalry game? This is why Virginia is a real rivalry game. Because the rankings don't matter when you play real rivals. That's your real ACC rival. I've been saying it. We ain't beating no damn Miami. Look, I'm not saying we are. And based on our weakness as a team, unfortunately, that's Miami's strength. So that doesn't, we talk about styles win matchups, styles win fights. Unfortunately, I don't think our style helps us against Miami. But again, I think they'll come out to play. And you're at home. Adam Fuller would have been worse. Adam Fuller would have been worse. Look, I'm not mad at people who are mad. I'm not even mad at the people who I'm a little more upset at the people who pretend like FSU is supposed to win every game 45-0 and then are shocked when you don't. Because I don't understand. People can be mad. You have all the right to be mad because you shouldn't have lost this game. So you have every right to be mad. But again, this game, a lot of the points in this game showed up. A lot of the points that was made preseason in this game showed up. So a lot of the stuff I was saying preseason were valid. I know people didn't want to hear the things I was saying. People didn't like the stuff that I was saying, but it showed up. And they were valid. Corey Hall said, ain't no rival. They've been kicking our ass. So what do you do going forward? Well, from a defensive perspective, to me, it looks like you got to blitz more. I feel like that's the only way you can get pressure. Now, you're going to have to ask yourself, if you blitz more, that leaves the back end. Even in a loss, I think we all like the way the secondary played. At least I did. Now, Earl wasn't the best at his best tonight. He didn't look like that Alabama Earl Little. And I hope he comes to wrap up against Miami because he better, or he'll look like he did tonight. But I thought guys like Jabril Rawls and like our secondary can get to the football, man, and they can make plays when the ball comes their way, which is awesome. So you're gonna have to figure out how to. Tony White is gonna have to use this long week. Well, yeah, I don't know if they'll practice this weekend or not. So I don't know if it's really a long week because you're playing tonight. I don't know if they'll practice tomorrow. My guess is they won't practice Monday or Saturday. Don't know. Probably whatever. So it's probably still a typical practice week for you. But you're going to have to use this week to figure out how are you going to apply pressure. That's really what you're going to have to do. Because you cannot, especially when we're running primary zone. See, the zone, people have different philosophies or different thoughts. Oh, I hate zone coverage. I love it. I hate man coverage. I love it. The problem with the zone is if you're not getting a pass rush, there's a hole in every zone. And I don't care if you're Chad Morris or if you're whoever, you can always find a hole in the zone if you have enough time. He has to find a way to get more pressure, especially on Carson Beck. He's going to have to get pressure on Carson Beck. Though I'm not sure Miami's going to have to use Carson Beck much. Miami might run the ball 40 times on us. Wouldn't blame them if they did. If I'm Miami, that might be my game plan. Just line up and run it. So you're going to have to find a way to get penetration. guys are going to have to beat their blocks. See, the problem is our best players are in the interior of the D line. People want to say Daryl Jackson is X, Y, and Z. Oh, Daryl sucks. You understand, and this is where I got some of y'all, not everybody, but some of y'all, maybe I need to get some people on here so we can learn the game. You're asking a 6'5", 330-pound defensive lineman to be your primary pass rusher? You've already fucked up. It's not his job. That wasn't his job against Bama, was it? But guys got home against Bama, like the Desir twins. Guys got home, Stephen Thompson. Guys got home against Bama. Daryl's job is to clog the middle. He's to eat up blocks so that your linebackers can then fill the gaps and make the tackles, so that your edge rushers get the one-on-one matchups that they want. Guys weren't winning one-on-one matchups. Am I saying Daryl played amazing? I'd have to go back and watch before I said how well or not well Daryl played. But this whole thing about we want to talk about Daryl Jackson not being – if you're one of the fans that are counting on him to be Aaron Donald, then you don't know football. So I need some of the fans to just understand how the game is played, understand people's roles, and understand what they're supposed to do. He's not Aaron Donald. He don't have the build of Aaron Donald or a Warren Sapp or any of those great pass rushing defensive interior D linemen, a Geno Atkins. You look at all of those guys that I just named, and you're talking about all of them are flirting from the high 200s to the low 300s in terms of weight and how they're built. I think Geno Atkins was 305 pounds. Aaron Donald, we know he played most of his career at like 280, 290. Warren Sapp might have been, 305, 310, something like that. Daryl's job isn't to rush the passer. So if you're blaming Daryl Jackson for the D-line's problems, learn the game. Learn the game. Now, we can blame James Williams because James Williams gets all the single matchups he needs and he can't beat one-on-one blocks. Now, that's a whole different conversation. We got to understand who we're blaming and what we're saying before we just get in comment sections and say stuff. Let me go to the chat. It was a good game, Antonio. I think I probably don't disagree with what I mean. That Tennessee Georgia game competes. I think Tennessee Georgia was a very good game as well. Tonight was a very entertaining football game. I don't disagree with you one bit. I'm sorry, VJ, that you're a Dolphins fan. Kind of not, but I'm sorry, man. I got to go back and watch and see how 93 played. And even the Desir twins, who I think have amazing motors, are they twitchy enough? See, the problem is on our D-line. Let me ask please, somebody give me an answer, which is why I'm so adamant about putting Amari as a permanent defensive end. Who on our D-line is twitchy? Because even the Desir twins, what makes the Desir twins special is their motor. They don't give up on plays. I said this after the Alabama game. I said, I don't know what their ceiling is. I don't think they're 10-sack guys or anything like that because they're not necessarily twitchy and amazing athletes, but they have a motor that'll let them play football for a long time. Who on that defensive line that you would say has a quick step, athleticism, can bend the edge? Like, who does that on the D-line? Please tell me. The guy doesn't exist. Grand Champion says, man, chin up. We needed this, and it came at the right time. We got too cocky. We got too comfortable. These are the type of moments that get us back on track. I guarantee we back in dope, we fire. I'm not mad at that comment. Again, I think this is a moment in the mirror to look at. I don't disagree with you from the standpoint of I hate to say we needed it. I ever hate to say you need a loss, because these same lessons can be learned in wins. But the problem is, and I don't necessarily blame anybody for this. It's just how it kind of shaked out. When you schedule an Alabama week 1, I don't necessarily have a problem with you 2 back-to-back cupcake games. The problem was the Alabama game. You didn't face really any real adversity in that game. So the lessons that could have been learned in a close win at Bama didn't happen. Because for the most part, you really dominated that game. You learned nothing the last 2 games. So I hate to say you need a loss to win, because I think you can learn the same lessons in a win. But yes, you will learn some lessons here. The question would be, how do you apply them? I think, again, I like the Twins. I like their upside. And I think they play extremely well for freshmen as well. But if we're counting on them to be our pass rushers, then again, that encompasses the entire problem. Most of y'all just arguing with the Miami fans in the chat. Good for y'all. I don't disagree, Corey. I don't disagree. But again, you came out and you didn't play like you should have played. Came out and you didn't play like you should have played. Antonio says we lost. It is what it is. You got to move on. The question's going to be, well, I think that question get answers next week. Are you still in the running for the ACC? Well, I think that question gets answered immediately, because you lose to Miami, you can pretty much dead any of the ACC talks. Even if you were to win out and go 10-2, now Georgia Tech has a schedule where they might not lose a conference game, right? Like, you with 2 conference losses, it just doesn't look feasible right now. But if you beat Miami, then yes, you're right back in the mix for the conference championship. Dangbay says the defense played okay. The secondary scheme helped UVA extend drives, though. I think the secondary played okay to good. I think everything in front of that did not play well. And because that didn't play well is why things happened. Anytime Morris had to throw the ball deep, it was damn near an interception. He couldn't complete anything deep on us. But when he didn't have to, because they controlled the line of scrimmage and our defensive line couldn't get off blocks. They had 2 drives of like 12 plays plus. I think in 2 drives they had like 28 plays ran where they just was running the football. Yeah, that's not on the secondary. It's not like Morris was picking us apart. What did he throw? 3-4 picks or something like that? It's not like he picked us apart. That's your first mistake. Betting on Florida. I don't even bet on Florida State. Even if we're good, I don't bet on Florida. I don't bet on my teams, because you're always bound to lose money when you bet on your team. I don't bet on my teams. Yeah, you got a Cuse team too. That's what I'm saying. You lose to Miami, you got the Georgia Techs, you got the Syracuses out there. That's what I'm saying. Your season, and hell, you still got Virginia technically with only one ACC loss. So once you lose to Miami, yes, I think you're out of the running for the ACC. Do I think the season isn't over for college football? What do you mean by that? William says, no, we need to learn a loss against Miami, not Virginia. Of course it was a winnable game. I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm saying you should have won. You should have won. Jackson's not bad. I just think everyone hype him up so much because of his size. Dude is not a first or second round draft pick. Might go undrafted. Remember that big dude from Baylor? He was 6'9". I think if you're talking about Sean Oakman, they played different positions. Oakman was like a legit edge rusher. I'm not saying where Daryl gets drafted. I'm definitely not saying he's a first or a second rounder. I don't think he would go. I don't think he goes undrafted though, at all. I don't think that happens. My problem is just the expectation of your nose guard. People want this man to be a 10-sack guy, and I'm like, show me of a player built like Daryl Jackson that was a 10-sack guy. Show me the 6'5", 6'6", 320-pound defensive tackle, zero tech, that was a 10-sack guy. I don't know why FSU fans have this expectation of Daryl Jackson to be like this pass rusher. I don't know where they get that from. But again, that's because some of y'all listen to the wrong people. Newsflash, not everybody out there knows what they're talking about when they talk this football shit. Good night, John. So that's, the game, unfortunately, just played out the way it played out. And FSU had opportunities, and they blew it. We lose next week, the season is over. What season is it? I guess my question would be, what was the expectation for the season? Again, if you were one of these people thinking 10, 11 wins at the beginning of the season, then you're right. You lose next week, and yeah, you're not winning 10, 11 games. But if you're one of those people that said 8 wins, I think I predicted 7. So my prediction is still holding true. So for me, I don't believe the season's over. And I think we still have a good chance to be like a 9-3 football team. But there's gonna be some things they're gonna have to figure some things out. It happens. I knew we weren't the complete package. This is why Wednesday night, you go back and you watch Wednesday, I kept saying, come out with a chip on your shoulder, or you're gonna be in the position they were in tonight. Because I knew they didn't. I said they don't have the talent to just roll out of bed and win a football game. That is not where this team is at. So, again, my question would be, what is your expectations? Clayton says, we're still a good team. Once we beat Bama, I didn't like the bye. And the 2 cupcakes at home for a Friday night road test. Wish we had Virginia week 2 or 3. Do I think Tony White got exposed in defensive play calling? No, I think Tony White is unfortunately, You can say what you want about conferences. I think FSU and its identity in the ACC, you need legit pass rushers, man. I don't know. I can't speak on the Big Ten. What he did in Nebraska, a lot of those Big Ten teams are kind of built a certain way. And when Nebraska played the more, gifted Big Ten teams, you kind of saw some things there. I just don't think he's got some of the horses at certain positions that he needs. I think that's the problem. I kept seeing people saying Tony White's calling a bad defense, and I kept saying, well, are we actually watching the game? Because I don't know what Tony White's supposed to do when you can't get pressure, when you can't beat your blocks, when linebackers aren't filling the right holes. Like I don't know what Tony White's necessarily supposed to do or how he's supposed to call it. Now, I will concede if you say that Tony should have started blitzing more. But you got to be careful with the blitzes. You don't want to run right past, you don't want to blitz right past the running. Now your secondary is assed out on an island. I don't think they were worried too much about the throwing game, but I think they were worried about blitzing the correct gaps on the run. Our players couldn't figure out we didn't have any gap control in this game. And our leverage in this game was atrocious too. We took terrible angles in this game. Again, I don't know if that's a Tony White problem or is that just a player problem. You think this loss gets Norvell fired? It surely doesn't. I'm sorry. Even if you want it, this loss doesn't get Norvell fired. What do I think Norvell said at half? Oh, who knows? But see, that's the thing, Corey. I heard that too. He's calling too much zone. I can agree with that, but that's what we knew his defense was. Like, if you again, and I know Corey, you're always over here, so I'm not accusing you of being one of these individuals that listen to these other places and. We knew what Tony White's defensive scheme was, primarily a zone. He's not gonna all these. Here's the thing about coaching. If you don't know, coaches run what they run. Whether you're offensive coach or a defensive coach, if they coach zone, they're gonna run it. If they coach the spread option, they're gonna run it. They're not gonna. Gus Malzahn is all of a sudden going to turn into pro style I formation single back like that. That's not what Gus is going to run. What Gus run. Tony White's going to run zone because that's what he does. And you can say, well, adjust to man. Well, when you've been coaching your players to get away from primary man so they can be more adept in the zone, to tell them all of a sudden to go. You see what I'm saying? As far as recruiting, does the loss hurt us? One loss, I don't think hurts you in recruiting. Here's the nasty truth about recruiting. I'm not sure wins and losses even matter so much in recruiting anymore. I think we all know the dirty little secret there. I don't think the wins and losses even matter that much in recruiting. If FSU is ready to pony up the money this offseason, they'll sign a decent class and a decent portal class. I think relationships and money still matter more in recruiting more than wins and losses. I don't think Carson Beck will have to embarrass us. For one, Carson Beck don't scare me as a passer. Excuse me, as a passer of the football. I'm just being honest with you. Never has. He's not going to. The problem is, if you can't get pressure on him, then he will have all day just to do what he wants. He will complete passes. The running game scares me next week. Miami might legitimately be able to run for 5 yards a carry. Fletcher is 230 pounds. Like, they got running backs that are a load to take down. They got an offensive line that, hell, if that offensive line was around in 2020, it could have blocked the COVID-19. I think Miami, and I said this before the season, I thought Miami had the best offensive line in the country. Because they do. They do. That worries me. Carson Beck does not worry me. Y'all want me to, so we want to move on from Virginia and talk about Coral Gables? I don't disagree, Corey. I get it, man. You gotta adjust. I get it. But you also your players gotta make plays, bro. Your players gotta make plays. You don't think they'll run all over us? I mean, I hope not, but that's my worry. Virginia just did it. Virginia just did it. And Virginia's missing like 3 or 4 starting offensive linemen. So that, I hear you, Almighty. And we're allowed to have our, my problem is what I just watched an hour ago or whatever it was. They just did it. They just did it. They don't want to pass. That's 100%. Go watch Miami. They don't even really want to pass the ball. They want to run the ball. What about tonight's game frustrated me the most was the mental problems we had frustrated me the most. The mental lapses frustrated me the most. I came into this game saying that FSU had played. Somebody had asked in the last live stream about playing a clean game, and I was like, up until this game, FSU's played some clean football. Not a lot of penalties, no turnovers weren't the issue, right? So what bothers me the most is Deuce Robinson on a catch that should have been an easy catch. You turned it into this difficult. Then it got reviewed, and anytime you put it in the hands of the refs, I don't want to hear any excuses, especially on a play like that. It's not like it was a contested catch where I can give you some leeway there. TC puts it in your breadbasket, and the end zone is what, 5 yards deep, 10 yards, 5 yards deep? How deep is the end zone? I think it's 5 yards. You fumble the ball for 5 yards and then try to catch it at the last minute. And even when you're going outside, you're still repositioning the ball in your hands. Stuff like that is what pisses me off, because that's an easy routine play. And you played great up until that point. So stuff like that pisses me off. The lack of and the fact that you couldn't stop the running game pissed me off too. So those are the two things that frustrated me the most. You couldn't stop the run when you needed to. Virginia was just able to literally run the ball down your throat. And the mental lapses. The team just wasn't focused. Didn't look focused tonight. Devontae, we talking a little bit about both. I'm really more so on VA than I am on Miami, but talking whatever. Right. You won the position. I think you won the turnover. Like, I don't know. I didn't look at the stats yet. I mean, I can bring them up. Some of those shots were cheesy. Which the only penalty that I thought was a bad penalty was the offensive pass interference on Deuce. That was the only penalty that I didn't. I was like, I thought that was very ticky tack. Everything else, be smarter. All right, Jay. Have a good night. I know it's late for some of y'all. It's only 10:30 here. I know it's late for some of y'all. The game goes into double overtime. So I don't know how long I'm gonna be on here, but I'm cooling right now. But yeah, like it is what it is. There's things to take from this game. Let me bring up the stats. Let me bring them up. Let me see if I can get these stats. Bum, bum, bum. Box score. Tommy, 18 for 32, 254, 1 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He also ran for a touchdown and ran for 78 yards. The last interception, I don't really, it's whatever. I get it. That's going to go on his stats, but I don't. And even the other interception he threw, I'm like, it kind of just reminded me of the Kent State interception, right? I don't think Tommy has, in my opinion, had the glaring interception that you go, oh my God, what were you thinking? Sawchuk ran for 74 yards. Chroma ran for 63. Keziah ran for 32 on 2 carries and never touched the ball again. So FSU still ran for 256 yards and threw for 258. You still had a good offense. Again, you had a good enough offensive performance to win the football game. Deuce had 147 yards. Just catch the last ball, man, and you might be a hero, Deuce. LaWayne McCoy had a couple catches for 44 yards. Good for him. Danzy had 3 for 42 yards. So Danzy did do some things. I know he didn't play like the Danzy we saw against the 2 high school teams, but Danzy was still out there. And Pittman had 2 for 16. Squirrel had 2 for 5. I feel like you got to get Squirrel more involved. Got to take a deep shot with either Danzy or Squirrel. Granted, you got to give Virginia a little credit there. They were not trying to give up anything deep, which is why you had a lot of one-on-ones with Deuce, and they did take advantage of that. Earl Little had 13 tackles. Jabril Rawls had 11 and an interception. Shout out to Jabril. Shaheem had 9 tackles. Ashlyn Barker had 2 sacks. I didn't even know that. Not one D lineman recorded a sack. Not one D lineman recorded a tackle for loss. Think about that for a second. Your most productive D lineman, Mandrill Desir, 93. Not even surprised because 93 has really been your best D lineman, I think, all year. He had 4 total tackles. Daniel Lyons had 4. Daryl Jackson had 5 total tackles, but people tell me he don't get any tackles. He had 5 tonight. McCray had 6. Omar Graham played. He had 2. AJ, the walk-on, AJ Cottrell had 2. Jason Jenkins had 2. James had 3 tackles. Blake had 3 tackles. Edwin had 3 tackles and a pick and a tackle for loss. So Edwin played a pretty good game. If we go to Virginia, Morris was 200 for 29 yards, 229 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. They ran for 211 yards on you and 4 touchdowns. Morris had 3 of those. Morris accounted for 5 touchdowns on you. Holy shit. So there, those are your stats. There's a reason why the wheel route is so successful. Anytime you get I know it's easy to say. There's a reason why that route is always successful as it is. Anytime you get a linebacker, unless you got a special one, unless you got Luke Kuechly, unless you got Pat Willis, unless you got a special backer, anytime you get that backer on that running back that's coming out of the backfield full speed, that linebacker's doomed. Yes, you want 31 to get his head around. Guess what? 31 gets his head around, that ball's still sailing right over his head, and he doesn't have a chance to catch the running back anyway. That's why the wheel route is so effective. Speaking of James Williams, I didn't say his name, did I? But let me go back and look to be fair to James. James Williams had 3 tackles. So he had 3 tackles. Offense definitely showed up. Where does the team go from here? Next week is likely ugly. You think it's going to be ugly? I don't believe it or not. And I'm not saying we're winning next week. I don't think it's going to be ugly. I think that's going to be a tough physical football game. I would give Miami the win right now if I'm just being honest with you. I don't think that game gets ugly though, but I'm going to have to find a way to make sure Pitt isn't 3 in a row. If the Noles are 5-2 by next bye, how you feel? 5-2. 5-2 is a good record, man. Again, I'm a guy that said 7-5. So 5-2 is right up my alley. 5-2 is right up my alley. I still think this team has a chance to be a 8-4, 9-3 team. The beautiful thing about the schedule is, you lost to Virginia, but Clemson sucks. Florida sucks. I would say don't let this loss skew the facts. You don't have a lot of good. Virginia Tech, I think, is on your schedule. Then Old Dominion run up like 40-something points on them. Old Dominion. So you are okay. You're okay, in my opinion. I think you're okay. Who would I replace on defense as a starter? The problem with when you replace a guy, you have to have a guy to fill the role. Who are we replacing? I know a lot of people are like, well, get James Williams off the field. Cool. Get James Williams off the field. Okay, but who are you putting in there? Diggs? Jaden Jones? Those are your only probably 2 legit options. Because you take James off the field, and I don't think James is playing great at all. But this goes back to what I said early in the stream. Do you have the talent behind we already have talked about the depth. Depth was one of my major factors going into this season. You can bench James Williams all you want. Who the hell are you putting in there? You can say Amari. I'm not against it. But it's obvious that the staff doesn't want to do that. I don't know how much more tape, because even against the bad teams, FSU's pass rush wasn't great against Kent State or East Texas A&M. I've been saying from the jump, Amari Williams needs to be a DN. One, I kind of think that's where his biggest upside is, and two, that's where he's most needed. They don't want to do it. I don't know what to tell you. It's unfortunate. Shyheim played a lot tonight. I'm not sure why. Not sure why. Thought we have already written the book that Shyheim, when he wasn't listed as a starter, I thought we already knew. So I don't know why Shy is playing as much as he's playing, but if you want to blame coaching for some of the rotation stuff, I can get behind some of this stuff. Where was the Houston DB? He had an interception. And he almost had another one. Didn't he have an interception? Or did he – I think he – no, he didn't have an interception, but wasn't he the one that – he almost had an interception, I know, but almost doesn't count because that guy, I think he broke for like a 20, 30-yarder. Wasn't he the one that helped Elijah Herring get his interception? I don't remember. 19 was out there. Look, you also have to put in perspective what 19 is. Wilson is an undersized corner that plays with a lot of heart. He's fast. He can do some things, but I don't know if anybody expected him to be like lockdown type. That goes to Jabril. Number 11. He's playing like that. Jerry Wilson is a different player. Kind of has a Greg Reed type stature. I don't think he plays as physical as Greg Reed played. So I don't want to make that comparison. But he's undersized. But he's a guy that plays with a lot of heart. He plays bigger than he is. He was out there. Where was Lucas? I don't know. I don't know where the hell Lucas was. I don't disagree with you that he should be in the rotation, but isn't it apparent that, I don't disagree, but they have to make those moves is what I'm saying. They have to make those moves. They as I'm saying, they got to go this week in Miami prep. They have to figure it out. They have to figure out. And that's the thing. Like we praise Tony White. Oh, he's putting the hammer down. He's holding guys accountable. They're gonna have to figure out who plays and who doesn't play. We'll see what happens. But also, got to take into account. You can say bench whoever you want. Bench this guy, but you can't even remotely talk about benching any of the linebackers because you don't have any. Juice Cryer, Omar Graham, Blake Nicholson, Elijah Herring, Stephen Thompson. They all play, and they all play a decent amount of snaps. After those guys, please name me a player that you would like to see in the linebacker room play besides those guys I just named, who we knew from day one was going to be the linebacker rotation, right? So there's no surprise there. Who exists? There's not a – name one. Let's keep praying for Ethan Pritchard, but football ain't even in his – we ain't worried about football when it comes to Pritchard. I would have loved to see if he could have cracked this rotation. Unfortunately, again, and prayers up to him, please. I'm not even trying to make it about that. I'm just saying we lost him. He was a guy in the offseason that was, as a freshman backer, getting some talk. They were talking about him. So you take Ethan Pritchard out of the situation. You don't have a backer. You don't have any backers on the bench. Not one. Please name me one. That's why you saw A.J. Cottrell out there, the walk-on linebacker, because you don't have anybody. I agree. Pull up, you saying all the things I've been saying. Amari's not a factor on the offensive side of the ball, so I don't understand why they don't give him more defensive snaps. But again, the young man's been promised something. He wants to play both sides. He's been promised he can play both sides. To the detriment, looking like it, but hey, I don't make the calls. Mike Norvell does. He's the one that gets paid $10 million to do this stuff. Is Cryer hurt? Not to my knowledge. Cryer was out there playing tonight. If we hit the field goal, we win. Maybe. I mean, in hindsight, it's easy to say that. But also, you got to ask yourself, is the game played different if you hit the field? Like, there's so many factors after that. So maybe. Got to remember, FSU had to get a late touchdown to even take it to overtime. So I'm not, I don't know about that. What else y'all got? Let's see, LM is in here demanding all the smoke. Y'all keep giving him smoke, but he's doing what the only difference is I definitely go into the Miami spaces and stuff after they lose just to hear him cry. I just don't comment. Not saying he's wrong for commenting. I'm saying he's just doing what fans do. Your rival loses, you're going to go listen to that shit. Miami can't stop us. They're solid in the front seven, but that verdict is out. I agree. I don't disagree that the verdict's out in the secondary. But Gus Malzahn's not going to throw the ball 30 times a game. So you got to have, these things, you put them on the scale and they even out, right? They even out. So you can say, oh, Miami secondary is a liability. I don't think it's been tested this year. DJ Lagway damn sure ain't tested. Notre Dame quarterback damn sure ain't tested. And Bethune-Cookman damn sure ain't tested. And UCF damn sure couldn't. They can't throw the ball either. But the issue is, when it comes to Florida State, do we have weapons? Yes. Can TC make some throws? Sure. Is Gus going to dedicate that much to the throwing game? No, because that's not what he does. Gus, the same way we talked about Tony White running zone all the time, Gus is going to run his offense, y'all. Gus is going to run what he runs. That's the problem. Our styles make fights. Our style does not match up well, in my opinion, with the Hurricanes. And that showed tonight. Somebody needs to talk to him. He kind of reminds me of Travis Hunter. Travis' natural position is defense, not offense. Same as Amari. I believe that DN is what he makes his money. That's true. Why does it seem like this is a great point? Why does it seem like we never play Virginia at home? We always on the road there. We never play that team at home. KCS, you showing up big tonight, man. Appreciate you. Send $100 on the channel right now if you have wins. You can give it back and I'll pay it up. I'm not betting nothing. But by all means, KCS, you can bet it. I mean, with as much donations you had, yeah, I'll put up KCS, all the KCS's super chat that Florida State beats Miami. Appreciate you, Casey. This one for the Miami fans, just for good time's sake.
Bitch, be humble. Sit down. Be humble. Sit down.
Is it me or Tommy did not look explosive? I mean, the man ran for 78 yards. So I don't know. What do you? Offense did enough to win, man. I think we have a chance too. But I'm not sitting here. I'm saying that right now I would give Miami the edge just based off what I saw tonight. You can't be confident about our D line against Miami. But again, I said I think they'll come out and that'll be a physical football game. I think that'll be a close football game. I don't think Miami comes into Tallahassee and runs up the score. I do not. First of all, they ain't ran up the score on anybody. I guess you can. No, I mean Florida. Yeah. That Florida offense is putrid. Might be worse than FSU's offense last year. Lagway has been terrible. But no, I don't see that. I don't see it either. But I would give Miami the edge as of right now. Carson Beck will play like Joe Montana. If somehow we pull this off and win the rest of the games, do you think we will still have a chance at? Well, yes, to answer your question, because if you win the rest of your games, you're talking about going 11-1. So that means you're in the conference championship. So you still are in the college football playoff discussion if you're able to do that, right? TCU lost? Oh, wow. I actually thought TCU was going to win. Got a question for the chat, because I see this is kind of a discussion on social media. After the Pittman catch in the score, should FSU have went for 2, or do you agree with the field goal by Mike Norvell at that point? Or should we have went for the win? Personally, I think it's a double-edged sword. I don't think Mike Norvell was wrong for going for the field goal and taking it into overtime. Because I already know had he had went for 2 and we didn't get it, what that conversation would have been. So he was in that lose-lose situation unless he won in overtime. It was, I think the overtime decision was the better decision. I think kicking a field goal and trying to take your chance in overtime was the better decision. I understand people saying go for 2. My problem is, again, simply had we had went for 2 and didn't get it, we would have been on here having a whole fire Norvell conversation probably. So what do you do? Do you give your offense another chance in overtime? That's where I think his head was. I don't have a problem with the field goal, personally. He was damned if ultimately he was damned if he did, damned if he didn't, right? Because we're gonna sit here and question the call regardless. We questioning the field goal. If we went for 2 and didn't get it, we would have questioned the 2. I don't have a problem with what he did personally. I will sit here and say I think the field goal was the right call. But if you want to make another case, I think you can. Again, I don't think he was in a quote-unquote lose-lose situation. Now, if he gets the 2, then, yeah, Mike Norvell let his nuts hang like he did against Bama when he went for 4th and 1 inside your own, I think it was like inside your own 30. But that's another call. If we don't get that against Bama, Bama's got great field position. It's only a 7-point game, right? So calls like that, we can question all day. When he gets them, he's a madman. He's the mad scientist. He's letting his nuts hang. When he doesn't get it, he's a terrible play caller. You suck. Get out of here. Like, I got a list of Mike Norvell problems. No secret over here. I am not a Mike Norvell defender, and if you've been over here for any amount of time, you know that. But I am not going to blame Mike Norvell because he decided to kick the field goal and go into overtime. I'm not necessarily upset with that at all. And personally, I think that was kind of the right – not kind of. I think that was the right decision personally. And to even go further, the defense did get a stop to get us the ball back to be in position to get that touchdown. So the defense did make a stop. So I think in his head he was thinking, man, let's kick the field goal. I'll take my chances of overtime. My defense can get me at least one. If my defense can get me one stop, I can win the game. The defense, what's crazy about the game, I think in the overall totality of the game, we can blame the defense. But if you just look at overtime, the defense didn't lose you the football game. Deuce Robinson lost you the football game. Take your chance in OT, knowing you can't stop the other team, and you're on the road. Man, you go for 2. We don't get it. Oh, well. At least you was aggressive. Hey, man. I'm not mad at your thinking. I know, my Almighty, you think it was a catch. Again, he made it play harder than it should have been, regardless. I'll stand by that. Whether you think it was a catch or not, me personally, when he was juggling the ball out of bounds, I said they're going to call it incomplete. If he would have kept the ball here, because when he had it here, it looked like he had control and he had both feet in bounds. And if he would have just kept it there all through the catch, I think we would have been good. The problem is it looked like he tried to adjust it, and the ball started doing this. When they see that ball moving, I mean that's they're gonna say it's incomplete. Whether he caught it or not, That's a debate we can have. Oh Lord, KCS just dropped the 9.99. I'm thinking that's for you, LM. Jesus. I'm guessing that's for LM. So, LM, can you match? If you match it, hey. So, LM, you gonna send yours? My man just sent the $100 bomb. Big money over here from KCS. He said he ain't scared. I want to see if LM matches it, and then whoever, I guess whoever wins next week, I can send the winner $100. Shout out to KCS, man. He said, he's on that Billy Napier. Scared money don't make no money.
Yeah, more money, yeah, more money, yeah.
LM, I need you to match it. Okay. Well, we're going to hold you to it, I guess. My man said they ain't got to send him nothing. If they win, or if FSU wins, he'll send over. All right. Hey. Boys talking cash in the chat. I do agree that in 95, Ward done got in, but only if we had replay back then. I think Danzy's a young player too, by the way. We forget that Danzy is a redshirt freshman. Right? He didn't play much last year. I believe he got his red shirt. And they moved him positions. I not to make excuses, but I thought, Danzy could have been better. I definitely think Danzy was looking to make a play before catch. Danzy has been so used to getting the ball and just doing what he wants the first 3 weeks, including against Bama. I think in this game, I think he was so, again, young player mistakes. He was looking at the end zone before catching the ball, especially on the one play where, should have been a catch. It was almost a fumble. I never thought it was a fumble. I was like, no, he didn't even catch the ball. I think on that play because he had separation on that play. I think he was looking to turn up. And he just started running before he caught the ball. I think that's what happened with Mekhi Danzy there. Those are things that as he gets older, he'll get better at. I'll stand by that. Man, this man just said, I'll send it if they win. Man, come on, LM. All that fat mouth and type of gambling you doing. Hey, that's between y'all. Drip say he a broke boy. LM respond, though. He said he was supposed to send that to you. He called me out. We'll match it when we win. Do a Mike Norvell. I don't have a Mike Norvell impersonation. Can our defense? I think our defense can. I think. I mean, they got to look in the mirror, right? You got to want it. But I'm not going to use this loss in a double overtime game. It's not like Virginia came out here and blew your doors off. It was a Fun game, exciting game. You had opportunities. Sometimes the close losses can be more devastating than the blowout loss because you knew you could have won it. But I think you have to recover, right? I think you have to recover. He's in the comments talking trash. He's just in the comments talking trash. Pull up says true or false what? What you got? True or false what? If you heard Mike Norvell, yeah, that's true. If you heard one Mike Norvell presser, you've heard them all. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not really here to bash Norvell tonight, believe it or not. But I've said this for a long time. I don't listen to a lot of Mike Norvell's interviews for that very much reason. No, so now the Bama game. I wouldn't say the Bama game doesn't mean the Bama game. I think the Bama game showed what you could be. Right? I think the Bama game definitely meant something. But man, to lose to Virginia is really it's a step back, but it's not. It doesn't make the Bama game irrelevant. But that's not a team you should have lost to, right? I think that's kind of where that boils down to. Tonight is an unfortunate loss, but I don't think it's a loss that it's not going to kill you unless you let it kill you. Right? It's not going to kill you unless you let it. Does game day still come to tally next week? I'm not so sure. They might. What's the other game of that week? Is there another game that week that you would point out and go, I'd have to look at the schedule for next week. Is there another game? Is there another game between ranked opponents? I'm not even sure. I don't even know if FSU is going to be ranked, y'all. I mean, we'll see. I don't think – I want to say they don't drop us out of the entire rankings, especially if Bama is able to beat Georgia tomorrow. I think that helps Florida State, and Florida State won't be out of the top 25. But I got to think FSU drops to the low 20s, 23, 24, maybe even exactly at 25. And it wouldn't even shock me if they dropped out of the top 25. I just don't think they do. Especially if Bama beats Georgia, then I think FSU remains a top 25 team. But we'll see. But I got what other games are on the docket for that weekend? Probably not. It probably won't be a game. If I had to guess today without looking, I don't think it will, but I don't know what other games. William says we'll be around 22. That makes sense to me. So basically, I think an immature football team is actually accurate. But again, I think we kind of should have known that. I do think we kind of should have known that we're an immature team. They're going to honor Lee Corso at the stadiums. Some Grand thinks that they'll make that a game day thing. We'll see. I would love to see it. It sounds like Gus and Tony have better knowledge and know what's going on with the game rather than Mike. Bama and Vandy, that could be Vandy's kind of good this year. But Bama has to be. If Bama loses to Georgia, then you can cancel that. They're not going to put a game. I don't think they would put game day in Vandy. I mean, Bama is the name, but Miami and Florida State is bigger than Bama and Vandy. So I don't. Maybe there's a good chance we still get game day. Corey's not letting up. He said, "Man, we are a head coach away from big things." If TC gets healthy, we'll be fine next week. The team as a whole just seemed to step slow. Yeah, if they've already planned game day for Tallahassee, then just for rating purposes, FSU will be a top 25 team. Just hope they respond next week. I hope they respond next week. What else we got in the chat? I pretty much said everything I had to say, so I really don't have much more to say. But I'll let the chat keep going for a little bit before I get on up out of here, because it is getting a little late. Ain't a little late. It's 11 o'clock. Yeah, I think that's all I got, man. Do you think it's plausible players would make their own decision to lay up a bit to show out for next week? I think it's possible. Again, but that just goes back to what I said. You're not there yet to even have that mindset. So that means you were doing what? You were believing the hype. Believe in your own hype. Sprinklers just came on. But that means that you were believing your own hype. If you sat here and thought that you could just lay up against Virginia because you want to put it all on the line against Miami, that's an issue. That boils down to the players and all of that stuff. So definitely possible. It's probably to some degree with some players is what happened. But yeah, it's 2 hours strong. That's really all I got tonight, man. I mean, you took a L. And you got Miami next week. Unfortunate. That should have been a game of undefeated teams, top 10 matchup. And instead, FSU didn't hold up their end of the bargain. So that's something Florida State fans you're going to have to wear, especially if you're one of those that go on, some of these other channels and specifically some of these Miami channels and go on there and talk your shit. Not saying don't do it. By all means, you're allowed to do that. But if you are one of those people, you're going to have to wear that for a week at least. You didn't live up to your end of the deal. The Florida State-Miami game was supposed to be reminiscent of old times, and you're not going to get that. Yeah, you didn't handle your business. Learn from it, move on from it, come back next week stronger. That's all I got tonight, guys. Hit my like button, please, if you didn't hit it. Share the video, share the channel. It's your boy POLK over here on 863 Seminole TV. Y'all stay classy out there, Seminoles. Tough L to take, but you did it to yourselves as far as I'm concerned. As always, man, I'm out here. Go Noles. Have a good rest of your night. And have a great weekend.